They laughed, didn't they? Oh, how they sneered, how they twisted their faces into masks of mockery, spitting venom at every step you took. You were the joke, the fool, the one they kept at the bottom so they could feel taller. Every idea you birthed, they torched. Every effort you made, they trampled. They built their egos on your humiliation, entertained themselves with your struggle, fed their fragile little insecurities by turning you into their favorite punchline. But the funny thing about those who mock is that deep down, they know. They know what you are. They know what you're capable of. That's why they laughed, because they were afraid. Afraid that one day, the one they spat on would be the one they bow to. And now, look at them. The same mouths that ridiculed you now regurgitate your words. The same eyes that rolled in contempt now study your every move. The same hands that pointed at you in ridicule now scramble to imitate. They thought you were a fool, but now they dress in your skin, wear your thoughts like a stolen suit, parade your essence as if it was theirs to begin with. They mocked you. Now they copy you. Because that's what parasites do. They mock what they don't understand, and when they realize they were wrong, they steal instead of apologize. But oh, they won't tell the world where they got their newfound brilliance. No, no, no. That would mean admitting they were blind. That would mean confessing that the very thing they spat on was the thing they desperately needed. You see, the world is built on masks, and theirs has started to crack. The same people who called you a fool are now mimicking your every step, thinking if they walk like you, talk like you, dress like you, they might just become you. But no matter how much they replicate, they can never create. They can only follow in your shadow, doomed to be echoes of the very thing they tried to silence. Oh, and the best part? They still despise you. It burns them, eats them alive from the inside out, knowing that after all their mocking, all their laughing, they are nothing without the very soul they tried to break. They want to be you, but they can never be you. They can only chase, imitate, and pretend. And the moment they realize that no matter how much they copy, they will always be a step behind, that's when the fear sets in. That's when the panic starts. Because deep down, they know. They know that you see through them. You see how they scramble, desperate to keep up, desperate to hold on to something that was never theirs to begin with. And now, they live in terror. Because what happens when the original decides they've had enough? What happens when the one they mocked turns and looks them in the eye? Oh, that's the part they fear the most. Because you have something they will never have. Authenticity, fire, the raw, unfiltered, untamed force of creation. And they are just scavengers, feeding on the scraps of a banquet they were never invited to. So let them copy, let them steal, let them pretend. It changes nothing. Because at the end of the day, no matter how much they mimic, they will always be standing in the shadow of the one they once mocked. And oh, how poetic it is. The same mouths that laughed now struggle to speak without imitating. The same hands that pointed now grasp at straws, hoping no one notices that their originality is nothing but a hollow echo. The same faces that twisted in amusement now wear expressions of desperation, silently praying that no one sees through their flimsy disguise. But you see everything, don't you? You see how they watch, how they study, how they scramble to catch up, and you could expose them, rip the mask right off and leave them shivering in their stolen skins. But why bother? Their punishment is already set, because no matter how much they copy, how much they try to claim what was never theirs, they will always know the truth that haunts them, that gnaws at their very soul, that they were never the ones leading, that the one they called a joke is the one they now chase in the dark, hoping, praying, that someday, somehow, they might just become what they once tried to destroy. But they won't, because they can't. And that is the real joke. You see, the universe has a cruel sense of humor, and its punchline is always delicious. The same ones who laughed are now nothing more than puppets, dancing to the tune you wrote. They try to walk the path you carved, yet trip over every stone, every turn, because they don't have what you have. They don't have the scars. They don't have the pain, the suffering, the lessons that shaped you. They only have the illusion, the cheap imitation of something that can never be replicated. And oh, how it must burn to realize they wasted all that time ridiculing the very blueprint they now scramble to copy. To wake up every day knowing their only hope of relevance is to latch onto the same force they once sought to destroy. That's the agony they live with. That's the nightmare they can't escape. They see you rising, unbothered, unchained, while they remain trapped in the shadow of your creation. And the harder they try to outshine you, the more obvious it becomes. There is no competition. There never was. Because you aren't playing the same game. You aren't chasing approval or validation or a seat at their fragile little table. You build your own table, your own kingdom. And they are nothing more than thieves, scavengers, rats scurrying for crumbs beneath the feast of the one they once mocked. So let them steal, let them pretend, let them wear the mask of what they will never truly be. Their suffering is eternal because the truth cannot be erased. And the truth is simple. They will never be you. They will only ever be a distorted echo of what they tried to destroy. And that, oh, that is the most delicious irony of all. And now, the silence. The heavy, suffocating silence of those who once roared with laughter. They tread carefully now, speaking in hushed tones, hoping their stolen words don't betray them. Oh, but you see it, don't you? The way their hands tremble when they mimic your gestures, the hesitation in their voices when they parrot your ideas, terrified that someone will notice the cracks in their performance. They've built themselves on borrowed bones, but bones have a way of breaking under the weight of a lie. And this is a lie they can never uphold, because you were never just an idea to be stolen. You were an origin, a fire, a force too wild to be tamed, too unpredictable to be caged. They watched from the shadows as you bled, as you suffered, as you clawed your way out of the abyss they pushed you into. And now they drape themselves in the skin of your survival, hoping to rewrite history, hoping to erase their betrayal and pretend they were always on your side. But they weren't. They were the hands that shoved you into the darkness, and now they want to pretend they helped you find the light. How pathetic. How absolutely, disgustingly pathetic. They could have built their own path. They could have forged their own fire. But that would require something they never had. Resilience, grit, the courage to be misunderstood before being revered. Instead, they chose the shortcut. They chose to mock you until the world turned its gaze, then quietly rearranged their pieces to mirror yours, as if imitation could somehow erase the sins of their past, as if becoming you would make up for the years they spent tearing you down. But here's the thing about shadows. No matter how much they stretch, they will never become the light. And yet, they continue their pitiful charade, their stolen masks slipping with every passing moment. They regurgitate your wisdom without understanding the weight of the words. They mimic your movements without ever having suffered the pain that shaped them. They copy your fire, but their flames are hollow, flickering, weak. Because you are forged in suffering. They are assembled from scraps. But the real tragedy, the part that keeps them up at night, tossing and turning, drowning in their own hypocrisy, it's not just that they can't be you. No, that would be too simple. The real agony is that no matter how much they steal, no matter how closely they follow, they will always be behind. Always playing catch-up, always a step too slow, a thought too late, a reflection distorted by the ripples of their own cowardice. And you don't even have to acknowledge them. That's the beauty of it, the ultimate irony. You keep moving, keep creating, keep evolving beyond their grasp. And they are stuck, trapped in the desperate, endless cycle of trying to keep up with something they will never understand. Because while they were busy watching, studying, copying, you were growing, you were transforming, you were becoming something they couldn't even begin to comprehend. They thought they had you figured out, didn't they? Thought they could package your essence into something they could consume and regurgitate at will. But that's the thing about forces of nature. You can't predict them. You can't contain them. And you are a storm they never saw coming, a wildfire that can't be tamed, no matter how many times they try to steal its embers. And, oh, the panic in their eyes, now. The slow, creeping realization that the blueprint they built their identity on is now outdated, that the mold they tried to fit themselves into is already shattered. They have spent so long trying to become you, only to realize that you have already become something else, something greater, something unreachable. And that is their curse. To chase a ghost they can never catch, to mold themselves into an image that is constantly shifting, slipping through their fingers like sand. To live in the torment of knowing that the person they once mocked is the very foundation of their fragile, stolen identity. But you don't need to look back. You don't need to acknowledge the parasites feeding on your legacy, because their fate is already sealed. Their punishment is built into their existence. They will never have the satisfaction of originality, never feel the rush of creation, the exhilaration of forging something from nothing. Their entire existence will be defined by a desperate, hopeless attempt to mimic what they can never truly be. And that is the sweetest revenge of all. So let them scramble, let them copy, let them parade around in their stolen skins, desperately hoping no one notices the stench of unearned success. Because you know the truth, and deep down, so do they. No matter how much they try to rewrite history, no matter how many masks they wear, the reality remains unchanged. They mocked you, and now they copy you. But they will never be you. They live in a prison of their own making now. Every step they take, every word they utter, is shackled to the ghost of what they stole. They exist in the echoes of your voice, haunted by the shadow of your originality. And yet, They smile through clenched teeth, pretending they were always meant to stand where you stand, pretending the foundation they walk on wasn't carved from the bones of their own hypocrisy. But look at them, so careful, so calculated. Every move a rehearsed performance, every expression crafted with surgical precision to convince the world they belong. They think if they repeat your brilliance enough times, the world will forget where it truly came from. But you and I both know the truth. A counterfeit can never become the original. A thief will always be haunted by the weight of what was never theirs to take. And oh, the weight is crushing them. You see it, don't you? The sleepless nights, the paranoia creeping into their gaze, the fear lurking behind their forced smiles. They don't just fear being exposed. No, their terror runs deeper than that. They fear irrelevance. They fear the moment you evolve yet again, leaving them stranded, clutching at a version of you that no longer exists. They fear being stuck in a loop, repeating an outdated version of a legacy that is already transformed into something else. Because that's what they will never understand. Creation is not a stagnant thing. It is a wildfire, untamed, unpredictable, consuming everything in its path before birthing something new from the ashes. You were never meant to be caged in their imitation. You were never meant to be defined by their theft. You are change itself. And they are relics, frozen in time, stuck mimicking a past that no longer holds meaning. And that is their punishment. Not public shame, not exposure. No, something worse, something far more agonizing. They are cursed to be forever behind, always reacting, never leading, always chasing, never arriving. A puppet with broken strings, dancing to a tune they can never truly own. And no matter how much they claw at your essence, no matter how many fragments of you they try to possess, they will never hold the full picture. Because that picture is still being painted. And they only have a stolen copy of an unfinished masterpiece. But you don't even need to fight them. That's the beauty of it. You don't need to call them out. You don't need to waste breath on vengeance. Their downfall is built into their existence. They are cursed to be a hollow reflection of something they can never fully grasp. And every single day, they are reminded of it. Every single day, they wake up knowing they can never be the source, never be the root, never be you. And the best part? The world sees it now. Oh, it took time, but the truth has a funny way of surfacing. People notice the cracks. They see the imitation for what it is. They recognize the empty mimicry, the desperate attempt to hold on to relevance through borrowed brilliance. They see the difference between those who create and those who steal. And once that veil is lifted, it can never be pulled back down. So let them scramble. Let them cling to their facades. Let them panic in the silence of their own irrelevance. They can copy your words, your style, your mannerisms, but they will never own the essence. They will never understand the struggle that birthed the fire. They will never taste the raw truth that forged you. They will never feel the burn of creation in their veins the way you do. And that is the difference between them and you. You are the storm. They are the debris left in its wake. You are the source. They are the fading ripples of an ocean too deep for them to swim. You are the origin. They are nothing but an afterthought, an echo, a reflection distorted by time and failure. They mocked you. They ridiculed you. They laughed at your struggle, never realizing they were laughing at the very thing they would one day try to become. And now they wear the mask of the person they once belittled, praying no one sees through the cracks. But you don't need to prove anything anymore, because you won, not by fighting them, not by exposing them, not by seeking revenge. No, you won the moment they chose to become you. And now, for the rest of their miserable existence, they will live in the agony of knowing that no matter how much they copy, no matter how closely they follow, they will never be you. And that torment, it's a slow burn, a gnawing, inescapable truth that settles in their bones. They thought they could replicate the fire, but they never realized. Fire cannot be contained. Fire cannot be borrowed. It must be born deep in the marrow, carved from pain, struggle, and an unyielding force that cannot be duplicated. They can try to move like you, talk like you, even convince themselves that they have become you, but they will always be a second-rate performance in a theater of their own delusion. The world does not crave echoes. It desires the voice that first spoke the truth. And your voice? It still rings louder than all their hollow imitations combined. So let them live in the shadows of their stolen personas. Let them parade around in borrowed skin, deceiving themselves that they have taken your place. The truth remains unchanged. The originator is untouchable. The visionary is irreplaceable. And you? You are already miles ahead, shaping a future they will never understand. Their punishment is eternal, because no matter how much they try to become you, you are already becoming something else.